In 1830, somebody invented an oyster dredge. And they went out to the oyster beds and depleted the oyster beds with a dredge. Now this is up in New England. They have motors in their boat, like these guys have motors in their boats. They went out and over-harvested the oysters. Then they come to Maryland. When they got to Maryland, the Chesapeake was full of oysters. When they got here, Maryland said, you can't work here. You're from out of state. Providence did something like you Yankees go home, but they run them out of here. Then Maryland made a state law in 1865. They said if you want to use a dredge in Maryland, you got to have a sailboat with no motor. That's why we have a push boat. The push boat will get you out and get you back in. But when you're on the oyster bed, you have to have sails. The push boat has to be pulled out of the water. Okay? This is what it looked like. This is what it looked like dredging oysters. This is a skipjack under sail with the push boat out of the water, strictly under sail. Okay, we start dredging always November 1st. So we would come out with the motor, we'd pull the push boat up, and we would sail. Okay, a day like today, nothing. You don't know how many days in my life I have sat out here waiting for the wind to come. The wind didn't come, we go home empty-handed. If we have a motor in the boat, you might use it when you're not supposed to. So they wouldn't let you have a motor. You can have a push boat. The push boat is visible for the police to see. If you're out here and the push boat is down, you're under power, you're going to be arrested. This was a law, 1865. We started 1865 under sail. 20 years later, 1885, we had the record harvest, 15 million bushel. We harvested 15 million bushel, 1885, record harvest. Everybody wanted to go oystering, skipjack, oyster boats. They built 1,000 of these boats. 1891 to 1910, they built 1,000 of these boats. Too many. If this had been in other states, they would have said, no, you can't have 1,000 boats. They would have maybe 200-300 number where you ain't gonna over-harvest. But you see, all Maryland ever cares about is the revenue from the license fees. So they let 1,000 boats go. 15 million bushel. Next year they call it 12 million. Next year they call it 11 million. Next year they call it 9 million. They over-harvested. Too many boats. Now, if you had a motor, it would have been much quicker over-harvested. After this river, we're in the river right now. This is the Chesapeake River. This river was off limit to the dredgers. This river was for hand tonging, scuba diving, and that's what the river was for. We had to stay in the bay waters. After these guys over-harvested in the bay, at nighttime they come into the river and they poached on these oyster beds. Everybody's raising heck about this. The hand tongers are raising heck because these dredgers are maroon these oyster beds at night. They're stealing these oysters. The general population is raising heck. The Senate, the Congress, everybody's raising heck about these dredgers. They can't do nothing about it. This is what it looked like. This says the pirates attacking the police schooner. These are oystermen dredging illegal. The police schooner comes out, shines a spotlight and says, stop, you're under arrest. They took their rifles and shot at the police. This is what they did. You could not deal with these people. You could not deal with them. Everybody's raising heck. Finally, a fellow from the oyster police named Hunter Davison. He said, I can stop those dredgers. I know how to stop them. They said, well, go stop them. He said, I need to get rid of my police schooner. This was the police schooner. He said, I need a power boat. They said, give him what he needs. They took the police schooner and gave him a power boat. First place he caught the drudgers working illegal was up in the Chester River. He pulled up, shined the spotlight, and said, stop. They took their rifles and shot at him. He took the power boat and started ramming them. He sunk several of these boats. It was the only answer. You could not deal with these people. If you tried to reason with them, they would shoot you. So he got law and order in the bay. Now, this is 1890, 1900. I have newspaper clipping, 1901, where he sank some boats in the Chester River. He picked the people up that didn't get drowned and took them to Chestertown jail. The next day they paid a $50 fine, they paid a $100 fine, but they lost their boat. This was the beginning of the end. Later I said, we have plenty of police. We have aeroplanes. We have helicopters. We have speedboats. Now this is a picture taken 1957, the year I started oystering. I started 1957. There's 3 policemen on the boat, 3 police officers. They sit down on the Potomac River. You know the Potomac?
Yep.
You went across it today probably.
Yep.
You come
Yeah.
301?
Yeah, we live near the Potomac.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Potomac separates Maryland and Virginia. You know this?
Yes.
Okay. These are 3 policemen down on the Potomac River. This picture taken 1957, the year I started oystering. Now, you see in the background, you see the ice. Can you see the ice?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. This is ice in the background. This is 1957. There was also ice on the river in 47, in 37, in 27. In 1300, in 1400, in 1500, there was ice on the river every year. The good Lord made the ice to kill the bacteria, the germs, and the diseases. We don't have ice anymore. We haven't had ice since the last big ice we had was 1978. My grandfather got drowned in 1913. My dad was 13 years old. He got drowned. My grandfather got drowned out here on one of these boats. My dad was 13 years old. In 1913, there was no child labor laws. You had to go to work. They'd take you out of school, 13-year-old kid. He went to work at 13 years old on these boats to help his mother with the other 8 children. He said, I went to work, and it's really hard work. This is the hardest work you ever do, believe me, oystering on a skipjack. It's a hell of a lot harder than that boat there. Believe me.
Why? What makes you
He said, I went to work November, December, but January and February, he said, I got a chance to go to school. You know why? The bay froze over.
Wow.
It's a normal thing for the bay to freeze over. It doesn't freeze anymore. And it doesn't freeze because of global warming. And because it doesn't freeze, we have a disease problem. We have caused this to happen by the global warmings. Okay? We don't have this anymore. Now, after this, we got, you see, these are machine guns. This is in the 50s. They still had machine guns on the boat.
Oh, wow.
Matter of fact, Mr. Brown, the man in the middle, the police officer, Mr. Brown, he was so calm and nasty. He said, people said, he would love to arrest his grandmother.
Yeah.
He's nasty, nasty. Mr. Brown killed the last man in the Chesapeake over oysters. You know Colonial Beach?
Yeah.
You know Colonial Beach?
Uh-huh.
It's a big town really on the Potomac. There was a fellow there that was a real estate agent. He had a lot of real estate. He had a lot of money. And he had several boats like these that he leased out to the hand-tongers. They were in a bar room drinking one night, a bunch of watermen and himself. Somebody said, let's go to Maryland and catch some oysters. They went out in the Potomac. They were dredging illegal. Mr. Brown pulled up, shined the spotlight, and said, "Stop." They didn't shoot it. In the 50s, the watermen never shot at the police. They just ran. They cut the dredge loose and started running for Virginia. Mr. Brown was supposed to chase them. He wasn't supposed to shoot them with a machine gun. Do you know the law in your home in Arkansas that if someone breaks in your house and they're coming in and if you shoot them, you got a good chance of being, but if they're leaving, running away, you better not shoot them in the back.
Correct.
That's what he did, shot him running away. He should have went to jail, but he didn't. He killed the last man in the Chesapeake over oysters. After this happened, they took the machine guns off. Now they have handguns is all they have. This picture was taken. This picture was taken from a helicopter. This is the Marine Police. They used to watch us. That's a skipjack. He's watching the skipjack to make sure he isn't using the motor and to make sure he isn't dredging illegal on illegal bottom. You see, the dredge boat got a bad name in 1880, 1890, and we got the same name now. The police think we dredgers are a bunch of crooks. We got the same name because it's bred into these people that were no good. Dredge boats steal, dredge boats poach on oyster beds, and that's still another example of how Maryland mismanages. 2 years ago, a little over a year ago, we had almost 500 Marine police. Today we got 210. They cut the budget. We need these people. Last winter was more poaching than it's been in 20 years. You may or may not keep up with the news in the Bay, but it was on your television last winter when they found 14 tons of illegal fish. You remember that on your TV? It was national news. They found 14 tons of illegal fish in the nets that the watermen had set because we don't have the police to watch them. Maryland could lay anybody off, but these guys, we need these people. But, okay. After they over-harvested and then they got law and order in the Bay, then things went pretty good after this. Now they're laying the police off and it's more poaching than it used to be now. This here dredging under power, they made us go sail dredging. In 1865 is when we started sail dredging because we seen what they did in New England with the motorboats. They over-harvested, they over-harvested in New England with the motorboats. So when they brought the dredge here, they wouldn't let them use a motorboat. We used a sail for 150 years. 5 years ago, the state said, we're gonna let you guys come out with your motorboat. You see, the plan is Maryland would like to lease the bay out. My dad passed away in 1987. He was 87 years old. And he always told me the state of Maryland had been trying to lease the bay out since he was a boy. That was 100 years ago, he was a boy.
Lease it to whom?
The reason they want to lease it out is because they think they can get more revenue from a company than they can individual watermen. So they want to lease it out. They never could find a way to do it because the watermen could always make a living. 5 years ago, they come up with this idea. We'll let them go out power dredging, catch all the oysters up, and then we can lease it. Right now, 25% of the bay is up for lease. Right now. And when they finish catching the rest of these oysters, it's going to be 100% up for lease. And if I want to be a waterman, if they want to be a waterman, they're going to work for the company. That's what's going to happen. And my dad told me it was going to happen. I didn't think I'd ever see it in my life, but I'm seeing the bay being leased out.
Yeah.
It's a way of life gone, and that's the state of Maryland. So, I dredged for 48 years. I harvested oysters November through March. A day like today, we catch nothing. Tomorrow might be some wind. We could maybe. I've been out.